Well, we unfortunately, um, Mickey Mouse Super Bowl. All I can say. Great game ruined by terrible officiating. But hey, the officiating in the league has never been better, right?
Oh yeah, you know it, Brian. Honestly, like that was, um, the funny thing is, I don't want to talk too much about this, but I was talking to a Chiefs fan that came into my store the other day, and he's like, you guys can talk all the crap you want to. That's like, and then thinking in my mind, it's like, yep, sounds like a Chiefs fan. Sounds like a Chiefs bandwagon fan. That's probably, I was about ready to like ask him.
That's
Was like,
like
yeah, tell
half
me
of
one
Chiefs
quarterback other
Kingdom.
than Patrick Mahomes that's played on the Kansas City Chiefs. Go, but.
Sounds like half the
Uh,
Chiefs fan base. We'll cover this in the second half of the show, of
yes,
course,
we
a bit
will.
more.
But before I get there, I mean, yes, we did have the trade deadline. I'll kind of, I mean, I will get into it before I really do get into my takeaways. Two of the big trades that happened during the trade deadline was Kyrie going to the Dallas Mavericks, um, and also Kevin Durant going to the Phoenix Suns,
Mm-hmm.
and then Phoenix Suns ship over Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson to the Brooklyn Nets. And I tell you what, Brian, so far, the Nets are looking pretty good, even regardless of not even having Kyrie or Kevin Durant. Um, spent and when the Dallas Mavericks traded, they traded away Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a couple draft picks for Kyrie Irving. Durant got sent to Phoenix for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, I think other picks and that. But you look at it, that big three in Brooklyn only lasted, I think at most like 16 games together, which is sad.
Less than the Lakers' big three back in the mid
Yeah.
2010s. So,
Um,
anyway, let's.
tell you what, if you really do look at it before I really go into my first takeaway, you look at that and how much was it the players or how much was it the team? Because I
Both.
think it was more so the team. Oh yeah, probably. Harden was the first one that requested a trade way before Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and then it came back to say with James Harden saying, "Well, now I don't look like the crazy one because I wanted out first," and then they were the ones that followed shortly afterwards. Well, not really shortly afterwards. It was like really the next year. So I think James Harden requested a trade last year to go from Brooklyn to, I think, the 76ers. Or maybe it was this year, earlier this year. I can't really exactly remember. But, yeah, and then Kyrie, the Mavericks, Luka and Kyrie haven't really gelled together. I mean, they've both been averaging really well and fighting with teams. I really do think that their chemistry is going to come together after the All-Star game. But I'm going to stop talking about that. I'm going to get into this first one. This one kind of came as a shock. The Cleveland Cavaliers are looking to buy out Kevin Love's contract. I'm shocked about this one, Brian. I will say, because Kevin Love, used to be a big name with Minnesota. Double king. Would probably have 20 points, 10 rebounds, almost exclusively every single night when I used to watch ESPN religiously. I would watch the stats with Kevin Love. It would be, another 20-point, 10 rebound game, another 20-point, 10 rebound game. It's just like he used to be one of the top, players in this prime. He goes to Cleveland. He wins the championship in 2016 with LeBron. And still, very big name with Cleveland, even though they no longer have Kyrie and LeBron. But now, you got Donovan Mitchell. You have other great all-star players. You have, oh gosh. Is it Darius Garland? I think Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell.
I know
Like
Donovan
two,
Mitchell.
yeah. And then there's, Evan Mobley. There's a lot of other guys. So, I mean, I guess this one kind of made sense because Cleveland really doesn't need Kevin Love. They have the All-Stars in place. They don't really need a guy in Kevin Love. I don't think he's even starting. I think he's coming off the bench. But if you look at this, do you think that maybe the Lakers could be an option for Kevin Love to pair back up with LeBron? Or do you think that he's going to go totally somewhere else?
I'm going to guess somewhere else.
Yeah, it was interesting
because
because
go somewhere he has a chance to win another ring.
I mean, true. Honestly, the best bet might be Phoenix or Boston, but I just don't see Boston pulling the trigger for Kevin Love. They already have one of the all-around teams right now, offensively and defensively. I don't see Milwaukee going after him. They have a pretty stacked team. Honestly, to be honest, it would be cool if the Mavs could pull the trigger. I know that Marcus Aldridge is on the table. They were working him out on Tuesday. So who knows exactly what's on the table? They did just get Justin Holiday from free agency from after his contract got bought out. So who knows? I mean, I think he can still bring production. He's a great 3-point shooter. Somebody that can, grab rebounds and come off the bench. So it'll be interesting to see exactly where he's going to go. Honestly, I think the most likely outcome is him pairing back up with LeBron James in LA. And speaking of LeBron James, well, he finally did it. He was able to garnish over 36 points and become the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, passing a former Laker himself, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. To be honest with you, Brian, I figured it was going to be coming this season, but I didn't think it was going to be in that game against the Thunder. I thought it was going to be maybe against the Bucks or something like that. I thought maybe he was going to score like 20-something points and then had to get the other points against the Bucks. Well, no, he got all of them against the Thunder. When that man's on the mission, there's no standing in his way, and he was able to do it. Of course, he has a lot more than what he had when he did actually initially break the record. But if you look at this, do you think that this record will ever get broken now that LeBron is the all-time leading scorer?
Well, LeBron's going to play a few more years, and based on how he's playing this year, I think it's going to be very unattainable.
It's kind of like Jerry Rice's record in receiving yards. I mean, I don't think that one's ever going to get broken. Same thing with LeBron, with a leading scorer.
I am going to say, though, to those who just constantly hate on LeBron and say, oh, he's not in the GOAT discussion, you essentially just ripped up your own receipt right there. You have to. I mean,
I know.
He's not, I wouldn't say he's past Jordan, but he's definitely top 2 now. I'm sorry, rest in peace to Kobe, but he's number 2 now. There's no question.
I know. See, I still think in my mind, just off of championships and being in the finals, I would still think you would have to, even though he is the top leading scorer, you still kind of have to put him at that 3, because I still think that Bill Russell is the number 1, because he won 8 straight championships with the Boston Celtics. That is never going to be broken ever again. No team is ever going to make it 8 straight years and win ever again.
From a ring standpoint, yes, but from a player, like a stat,
Yeah, of course.
perspective, LeBron
If you
is
look
now
at
number
the stats,
two.
LeBron is definitely number one for a reason. But if you look at the sense of like finals appearances and track record, you would have to put LeBron at number three because you look at Bill Russell, you look at
Hmm.
Jordan. Bill Russell won, Jordan two, and maybe LeBron,
Hmm.
number three there. Of course, a lot of people are gonna say, yeah, I mean, this this record alone is what's gonna get him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And
As if
honestly,
he wasn't before it.
right, the NBA seems like it's a little, like kind of easier to get in the Hall of Fame compared to the NFL because say
Well,
like,
baseball's the hardest, let's be fair.
oh, I think so, yeah. The NBA, it seems like you can because look at it, Jason Kidd's even a Hall of Famer, and I'm pretty sure he was in his first year of eligibility or something like that too. So it seems like it's kind of easier for the sense because there's they get into the NBA Hall of Fame, the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame, then like the NFL. The NFL, like you could be in there. Like for instance, we talked about it. Zach Thomas, 10 years before he finally got in. Like,
Yep.
that just shows you how hard it is to get into the the Football Hall of Fame. So congratulations to LeBron James, you're number one. I don't think that record's ever gonna get touched. It's kind of like Tom Brady. I don't think the passing yards record is gonna get touched anytime soon. So I'm gonna get on to my last takeaway. This one's not shocking at all. The Raiders. It was said that he was either going to get traded or released. Well, he didn't want the Raiders to trade him because he didn't want them to have any kind of trade compensation for trading him away. Well, the Raiders are like, you know what? After this, we don't need your negativity. We don't need your drama. We don't need you to be a distraction for the team. Well, they ultimately released him before they had to take on his $40.1 million contract for this year or something like that. So it is a cap hit for the Raiders, which is going to suck for them because that is going to take a big chunk of, cha-ching from them for this season and going forward for the remainder of his contract. So, first off, thoughts and what team do you think that?
I think the easiest answer is not the Saints because he already said he doesn't want to go to New Orleans as well, and he wouldn't waive his clause for that. Like I said, I'm leaning toward the Colts, honestly. I think the Colts will pick him up on a 2-year deal. And I think he'll be their starter because I imagine Matt Ryan's either going to get released or he's going to retire.
To be honest with you, of course, we'll talk about it with your takeaways, but I think if you bring in a new offensive-minded head coach, you bring in some weapons, say like maybe some former Eagles players or something like that, who knows? Or guys that have had some, have played under him. Who knows? This might be a good situation for Derek Carr to go to Indianapolis. I mean, look at what Philadelphia has done this past season under that coordinator. So maybe it might be the right move. I say you keep Derek Carr, you draft a young quarterback to learn under Derek Carr. Who knows?
The other team in this equation, I think, could also be the Carolina Panthers, because keep in mind, they still don't have an answer at quarterback. They got Frank Reich right now as their head coach, and they're supposedly building a very strong staff over there.
So, honestly, that could be an option. I mean, because they'd have Baker, and then they traded him away to Los Angeles. So
I
they
think
are
Sam
looking for a guy.
Darnold's gone after this.
I think the only quarterback that's under contract technically is
P.J. Walker.
PJ Walker. So they're going to need a quarterback or draft one. So I really do think that the two top teams that are going to go after Derek Carr are definitely Carolina and Indianapolis. And the thing is, they could be in a bidding war. So Derek Carr might get another huge contract for a player that I don't think really deserves it, unfortunately.
He's been middle of the road his entire career, so I don't think he deserves it. I do think he'd be a good quarterback for a team that needs one.
Oh, yeah, of course. I will say this now. I think this is the kind of year where you're going to see a lot of teams paying out of, like, seriously big bucks out of pocket for these quarterbacks. They're probably middle of the road. A lot of these players are middle of the road. But fortunately, that's just the name of the game. If you want to get these kind of quarterbacks that might, be difference makers, unfortunately, you gotta pay a serious chick-chang. Of course, if you think about Juju, is also going to be on the market too. So who knows? He might be somebody that could get a huge contract heading to the offseason. Of course, we'll talk about that when it gets closer to the offseason, which is not very far off from where we are now.
Absolutely. Of course, we're about a month away.
Are we? Yeah.
It's about a little over a month.
I think April. I think it's in April.
I think it's usually March,
mid-March, early April, somewhere around that time. But of course, we'll talk about it. But ultimately, I think Derek Carr, makes the most sense maybe in Indianapolis compared to Carolina. But Carolina, wouldn't be far off either. But the problem is that Derek Carr, I don't think you would see him throwing it as much because Frank Wright, I would assume he's probably going to be.
Well, he's going to have Chuba Hubbard in the backfield.
Well, he's also going to have. No, I'm also. I'm like. Well, yeah. I mean, that is true. So maybe it would be different. But if he goes to Indianapolis, it might have like offense like they had in Philadelphia, where, if you get the right kind of pieces, maybe Derek Carr could have like an MVP like season. But we'll happen to see. Of course, we'll talk more about it when it gets closer to free agency. I will say this now. I think he's going to be taken in the first day of free agency.
I think so, because now he's going to be negotiating, around the clock, waiting for the league New Year to strike.
So I think he's going to be the first free agent to be taken, honestly, or one of the top free agents to be taken, because usually first day is when you get a lot of these big name players getting these contracts. So I think he's going to be the top of the list. If not first day, then definitely second day.
Absolutely, yeah.
But with that, I'm going to send it your way for your takeaways.
Well, I begin with the Colts job, and can I just say this came as a shock? Because for weeks, it was rumored that Jeff Saturday had the job. And, well, it looks like Chris Ballard ultimately won this deal as the GM because Shane Steichen will be the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, don't hold your horses. Now, I get it. He led a really good offense. He was a great help to Jalen Hurts this year. But let's back off the gas a little bit here. Because as a Chargers fan, I know Shane Steichen very well, and he was not good to our run game. He was not good with our passing game. So he's kind of that middle-of-the-road offensive coordinator. I'm sorry, I'm not I'd give this a C. It's definitely an upgrade from Jeff Saturday. But, take it like a grain of salt.
Right. I honestly, I feel like, I think talked about it, like recently, that like maybe the Colts are waiting for like a Philadelphia Eagles player or something like that. I don't know if it was either the Colts or Cardinals I talked about. I mean, you can, of course, anybody that's watching this, you can go back and check. I'm pretty sure I talked about it, where like, oh, maybe, just maybe they're waiting for like Eagles or Chiefs to be able to hire one. I'm honestly shocked that maybe like none of the Kansas City guys were interviewed or thought. They automatically thought, oh, let's go after the Philadelphia Eagles guys. Of course, now Philadelphia has none of their coordinators that they helped lead that to the Super Bowl, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing.
It only can get better on the defense for the Eagles, because I think that's what really held them back.
Now, makes you wonder, who's out there that they could honestly bring in? I mean, I would think, isn't Mike LaFleur still available?
No, I think he went to Seattle or something.
Oh, did he? Okay, that's right.
See,
there's not really a lot of guys that are out there available.
Bieniemy's interviewing for a lot of offensive coordinator jobs.
What, Bieniemy?
Yeah. He's supposedly going to break away from Kansas City, from what I heard.
I mean, he's an option to go after Philadelphia, which would be interesting to see. But the problem is
you got
would he
an
be
offensive-minded coach. See, the problem is he goes there, he's going to have another offensive-minded coach who's going to be calling plays in Nick Sirianni. So,
and then it's going to be the same thing all over again, which...
But I will say, I think this should have been switched around, because I think Shane Steichen should have been hired by the Cardinals. I think that would have been big for Kyler Murray, who's got essentially the same assets as Jalen Hurts, just has not been able to showcase it as well.
I know, and I think that Jonathan Gannon would have made a little bit more sense for the Colts, who seem to struggle a lot on defense.
Well, they have the defensive pieces there. Leonard's been a big part of their defense.
And true, he could bring in some pieces to beef up that defense, and then bring in another, say like a Bieniemy or something like that, to maybe help out the offense. But the thing is that Bieniemy has been criticized for calling some really crappy plays when it's him compared to Andy Reid. So who really knows what's exactly going to happen?
So, as far as it being the right move,
or as we get into our point, maybe somehow Orlovsky.
Now,
go.
Before I get to that, can I just say that Rex Ryan could very well be the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos?
Rex Ryan?
Yeah, Rex Ryan is being interviewed for the Broncos defensive coordinator job. Of course, the Broncos...
Okay, first off, Sean Payton would be high to do that.
Sean Payton he's building an all-star coaching staff, is what he said, but he initially wanted Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is now with the Dolphins because the Broncos wouldn't let him hire him, obviously, and I'm sure he doesn't want to go back to Denver after what happened there.
Because of him, in his ties of being a head coach, of course they wouldn't want him to be back there
this soon.
Somehow, because apparently, because if you think about it, they don't want to bring him back in as a head coach, because say the Sean Payton experiment doesn't happen, then somehow you're back to having Vic Fangio as your head coach? Possibly? No, I don't think they want that to happen.
But rumor has it, though, going to the next point here, Dan Orlovsky is being considered for a couple of coordinator vacancies in the league. Safe to say that's not a safety net. Sorry.
That's funny.
The man just talks the talk. He's not that smart. He's really not a good analyst to begin with. I mean, frankly, I don't want
He was
to
never a
toot
quarterback
my own
either.
horn, but I think we do a better job of analysis than he does. All he does is kiss up to Mahomes.
Yeah, but don't a lot of analysts do that? And I'm looking at you, Tony Romo.
Romo's worse. Yeah, oh, yeah, I don't know, Jim. Okay.
Yeah, but I want to try to keep this as much as professional as I can. But he likes the dick ride. Tony Romo likes the dick ride Mahomes. I don't care who you think you are, but he definitely does.
We took that turn very early, but it's all right.
Yeah.
So he's I don't know. I think he's better cut out as an NFL coach than he is a TV analyst. I think he's a lousy
I mean,
TV
to be
analyst.
honest with you, he was also a career backup, and it always seems like the backup quarterbacks end up becoming some of the best coordinators. So who knows? I mean, for instance, Frank Wright. What about Dallas's former coordinator there?
Yeah, Kellen Moore,
Yeah.
our coordinator.
Yeah, Kellen Moore ended up being a decent coordinator, and he was backing up Tony Romo.
I don't know, but
So
you said it earlier in a text that I saw. What's he gonna teach him to run out of the back of the end zone?
yeah.
Sorry, you're never gonna live that down. It's just like if Mark Sanchez got a coordinator job. What are you gonna teach him? How to
You
butt
teach
fumble?
these quarterbacks how to run into the behind of his offensive lineman and fumble. Yeah, I know. To be honest with you, if teams are willing to take the risk, I mean, hopefully he can pay off for them. But to be honest with you, I just don't think Orlovsky is that kind of guy that can help an offense become like top tier.
No, I don't think so either. I think he'd be more like a Jeff Saturday type hire. Just slightly better, obviously, because Jeff Saturday was a dumpster fire.
Right.
But, so...
All Jeff Saturday was good at it was being able to help block for Peyton Manning, basically, his whole career. So,
yeah,
but ultimately, we'll see. I mean,
yeah,
I doubt he's going to take a job or
not this
be
year,
hired.
I don't think.
But
maybe next year. I don't think this year, though.
Right.
But with that, on to the next one. Of course, we know Tom Brady will be the NFL on Fox top analyst in 2024. He's going to take a year off, so Greg Olsen will keep his job for another year. Of course, Greg Olsen makes upwards of $10 million per year to be the number one play-by-play analyst. Well, he's going to be forced to take a $7 million pay cut when Tom Brady does join the Fox booth in 2024. Yeah.
I just don't know how you could be okay with taking a big-ass, massive pay cut so then the GOAT can basically take your job away from you.
I just don't get how you could replace Greg Olsen. He did a heck of a job covering the Super Bowl. To be honest, it was refreshing hearing two new voices call the game.
Oh, I know.
And Greg Olsen's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. It's not like Joe Buck or Troy Aikman.
The problem with Greg Olsen is I hope he doesn't become like a Tony Romo, where he seems like he's smart, because Tony Romo was pretty good when he first became one, and then all of a sudden now it's just like...
You got paid,
it's
he
the
said,
same.
fuck it, I don't care anymore.
But like Greg Olsen actually seems very knowledgeable. I think he knows a lot. Like, he seems to be able to know his research beforehand. Or Tony Romo's kind of just going out there and like, oh, I don't know, and reading defenses. Like, it's cool and all, but like, he's kind of like annoying. It makes you kind of miss Phil Simms being back in the commentary booth
And he was
because
annoying
Phil,
too.
I mean, yeah, but he still was able to get.
Frankly, they should put Nate Burleson up there. Nate Burleson's a lot smarter than this.
Probably because he was a wide receiver, so I mean, maybe he would be a little bit more knowledgeable of things than Tony Romo. I mean, who knows? But ultimately, Tom Brady, I think, would do an excellent job of being an analyst, being a commentator on Fox.
He would.
He just knows the ins and outs of offense and defense. I hope he's not going to be annoying as an analyst, but I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be very knowledgeable.
Like I said, it's not anything against.
He would do better than Greg Olson. I don't know that for sure because we haven't heard him commentate anything yet, so I can't judge off of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't get behind him, replacing Greg Olson. If he was replacing Tony Romo, 100% I'm behind it.
I would be 100% behind it because, sorry, no offense to Tony Romo, but he ain't that good anymore. I don't think he was ever that good to begin with, but...
But, alright. With that, I think it's a good time to take our anchor break here. So when we come back, we'll recap the Super Bowl. We'll also have Tinkle on this. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Alright, like we said at the top of the show, Mickey Mouse Mahomes gets a Super Bowl win.
Getting the number one seed that he rightfully didn't deserve at all.
Yeah. I think I put out the caption that had to be the worst, or least deserving Super Bowl champion of all time. And I stand by that statement.
Clearly tell that the NFL wanted the Kansas City Chiefs to be the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
And show me any proof or any evidence against it.
Like I said.
Because...
What I was going to say is, first off, they missed a face mask on Jalen Hurts. Let's point that out first, because if that face mask got pulled on Patrick Mahomes, holy hell would have broken loose. Okay, that would have been 15 yards.
All day. The refs protect Mahomes like they used to protect Brady. And that's why I don't think you can argue the fact that Mahomes is starting to become the next Tom Brady, because...
And not the Tom Brady that wins 7 rings. He's becoming the Tom Brady as in the whiny crybaby. Then anytime he gets touched, he's going to throw a fit until he gets a flag.
Right.
So let's clarify that.
It just sucks because... Yes, exactly. But the thing is like, the analysts forever are going to talk about, well, he's already got 2 rings, he's 27 years old, he's still young, he's somebody that could probably win at just about as many as Brady. I don't see that happening, but, the NFL always likes to have these next great dynasties, and I don't understand it. You don't need to have great dynasties. You can have great teams win the Super Bowl every single year. I mean, yeah, you had the Rams, and look what they were last year.
You can have parity.
But the thing is why do we have to have the Chiefs Kingdom? Why do we have to have a Chiefs dynasty? We don't need that. There are other great teams that you could push to being in the finals. And I know you don't watch NBA, but this is why I like watching the NBA a little bit better than the NFL, is because sometimes you see a little bit, the Warriors can always be in it, but right now the Warriors aren't good enough to be able to be in it. You always see. To be fair,
the Warriors the last 5-6 years have kind of been a dynasty. So you can't argue against,
I
it's
know.
just not a
I
strong
just
argument.
I just hate that, all these sports. Okay, I guess this can be a strong argument. I just hate that all these sports have to have these great dynasties because it makes you look like you favor one of the teams more than the other. And I get it, sometimes if you build a team, well enough and have great assets in the draft, and great coaching, yeah, that's going to be turn a team into a great dynasty. But the problem I run into, the Chiefs shouldn't be a dynasty only because the NFL protects them so much, and they get a lot of the calls their way. Because if you look at this, run in the playoffs, they got a number one seed that they didn't earn, they didn't deserve whatsoever. And then you barely beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. You barely beat the
You
Bengals.
only beat
The
the
only way you
Bengals
beat
because of
them
the
is because of the
15-yard
refs
call.
helping you out. You barely beat the Philadelphia Eagles
Yeah.
in the Super Bowl.
And you only beat
Another reason why you won is
the
because of
Eagles.
helping you.
Let's add to this. You only beat the Eagles because you got this holding call that frankly shouldn't have been called. It was
Even though
holding, but at
even
some
though
point,
James Bradbury has stated that, I tugged the jersey. I just didn't think the rest were gonna call it bullshit. It's not no penalty. I didn't see any tug at all. I mean, of course, a lot of those cameras are not in real time either, so who really knows exactly what happened? Maybe there's an angle that we didn't see
but
that
I
they were
want to know
showing on
what's the
TV.
delay because you notice that Mahomes' face was like red, and then you see him screaming, and the second he started screaming, the flag came out. I'm just saying, like, there's
Like,
no denying that.
yeah, that's proof enough that he cried his way to be able to get the penalty because, the refs didn't want to piss him off and didn't want him to lose. Even though I think Jalen Hurts outplayed Mahomes in that Super Bowl, and I hate to say it, in games that usually players outplay another, usually results in a win. You wanted to protect Mahomes and the Chiefs so badly that you were going to call that penalty just so that they can go down the field, kick the game-winning field goal, and win that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I get it. He had 5,000 passing yards. He had 40 touchdowns, MVP season. But you know what? You don't have to jeopardize a game in the last 2 minutes of a game. Call us BS.
Apologies for that. All right. Sorry, where were you leaving off?
I was saying something about it's kind of sad that the refs had to play in favor of Patrick Mahomes, especially with that BS holding call. You shouldn't be calling that in the last 2 minutes of the game. You shouldn't be even calling
if
any
it's
kind of
blatant,
penalty.
if it's blatant,
If it's blatant and he's like holding and tugging the jersey, fine. That should be a penalty. But if it's a light tug
let it go.
on a jersey, let it go. It's the last 2 minutes of the game. Just let them play it out. These refs control the games so much. I don't get why the NFL just doesn't let the refs, take a step back and let the players kind of play.
I don't get.
I get it. You have to call penalties that,
I don't get why they have their backs so much. That's what I don't get. The league has their backs like it's, they have the most job security. That call, and again, you could argue it was the right call, but I mean, there are so many calls they missed in that game. So we can't hold them accountable. We can't, as NFL players, you can't just sit there and say, hey, they they made this, but what about this, this, and this? Because then they get hit with a $25,000 fine for saying the refs suck.
I really do think that
why
Roger
do we
Goodell
protect them so much. If you don't want to be,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What I was gonna say is, if you don't want to be criticized, how's about you fix your calls?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Make better calls and you won't get criticized.
Yeah, I think the refs need to get reevaluated and retrained or recoached
or
to be able to call things correctly.
No. Oh, sorry.
because if you're roughing the biggest game of the year, the Super Bowl, and I mean, yeah, you can let a lot of things slide and miss a lot of calls because you're still human at the end of the day. You're gonna miss a lot of things, but if they're blatant penalties, call them. If it's not so blatant and it looks like it might not be a hold, do not call it. I don't care if the players are whining, crying, or not. Just tell them, hey, I didn't see anything.
Here's the idea. If they're crying and they're screaming, you tell them
I
you
would
didn't
say,
see
hey,
anything. And if they
you go out there
continue,
and play,
then
I
like
go
in
out there and rap.
basketball, you get an unsportsmanlike conduct, a 15-yard penalty, and you get told that if you argue again, you're getting kicked out of the game.
Right. I just think that there needs to be, the refs need to stop controlling more of what happens in the game, and they need to stop taking sides with the players. Go with your gut instinct first. Do not let the players dictate a penalty or not.
And here's my other issue. If you're going to throw the flag, know what you're throwing it for. Don't need to have a 3-minute conference to figure out what the penalty was.
Right.
Okay, you know damn well what you threw the flag for. You shouldn't throw it at all.
But I will say this. Mind you, yes, there was a lot of missed calls, and there was that one questionable call. Other than that, honestly, I really do think it was a very entertaining back and forth game. Very high scoring. The first time that two teams scored 35 plus points in a Super Bowl. So it was a great game. I mean, it was very high scoring. Kept you on your toes. You didn't know who was exactly going to win until like basically last minute. I thought there was going to be overtime. You know what's funny is all hell, they changed the overtime rules and none of the games had to use those rules whatsoever this year.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that's unfortunate. But
I can't wait until we actually see those playoff rules come into action.
Oh yeah.
Because it'll be great football to watch.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, Super Bowl was good for what it was, but yes, I'm not exactly happy about the outcome, but at least they fought to the end and they didn't get it easy. That's all I'm happy about.
The only thing was, like I said, good game ruined by poor officiating was my best way to describe it. What I will say is what softened the blow is just how good, the game was. It was back and forth, like nobody really had a clear advantage until the end.
Right.
What I will say is the commercials in the middle. They aren't what they used to be.
Commercials weren't that good.
The halftime show. Sorry, Rihanna lovers. That show was horrible. It was just as bad as last year's. Last year's was ridiculous.
I give her a lot of credit to go out there and yes, even though it was
she deserves a lot of credit for doing it while pregnant.
Yes,
but the lip syncing was god awful. It was worse than what's his name doing America the Beautiful there.
And mind you, the performers get paid nada to perform the Super Bowl too.
Yeah.
Nothing. All they get paid in is exposure.
See,
that's it.
I don't know. Like I said, the last two performers I thought were awful. I'm just gonna be honest. Awful is about the best way I can describe it. And like I said, I give Rihanna a little more respect for being pregnant, but
right,
horrible lip syncing. And then on top of it, she brings out a Kanye West song, which we all know Kanye West is fucking batshit crazy right now. And
right.
this is where you should just shake your head and be like, why? Why, of all songs, you probably have 100 more. Why'd you choose that one?
That's true too.
And why would Fox let her choose that one? Because
Ratings.
You'd think Fox and the
Ratings
NFL would say absolutely not.
Look, if you look at the ratings, there was like 131.5 million people that were viewing the Super Bowl. So all Fox was caring about is that ratings and that big old payday.
Pretty
They
much.
don't give a crap of, what songs they perform and whatnot.
As long
All
as
they care about
swearing.
at the end of the day, yeah, exactly. All they care about is making that dough.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, Fox got a hefty amount of dough that they made from ratings alone on that Super Bowl.
And all the commercials.
Yes, and that too.
But, alright. I think it's time for Tinkle on this. As you know, NFL memes, if you follow them on Instagram and Facebook, they post every single year these Valentine's Day cards. One of them was trolling the Eagles cornerback Bradbury there. Well, Juju took a screenshot of it, posted it, and said, "Happy Valentine's Day, everybody." To which A.J. Brown came back and responded, "First off, congratulations." And he stressed the congratulations part in the tweet. But he went on to say, you wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Mahomes. You wouldn't be there if it wasn't for, a lot of things. TikTok boy.
He basically said you were damn near retired, and Mahomes brought you in literally and resurrected your career in Kansas City, which is probably more so true than not.
Yeah. So, for that, though, the fact that he got owned that bad and then called TikTok boy, tinkle on this, Juju. And it's a shame because Juju, with the Steelers, had a shot at being a top 5 wide receiver, and then he ruined it by being this cocky TikTok user.
Yeah, and doing the Chevy and dancing on opposing teams' logos. Yeah. I remember that when he did it against the Bills, and then the Steelers got their asses whipped. So, yeah.
Yep. So, all right.
But yeah, tinkle on this, Juju. What the fuck are you doing, man?
So,
excuse my language, but just, okay, cool. Congratulations, you got your ring. Let me guess. Now, what you're gonna do? Finally retire and be a big TikTok star like you always wanted to be?
Yeah, you should. But with that though, what's coming up on No Final Bell this week?
So no final bell. Fortunately, we had a sad passing of Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett's father, big time promoter. He was also the co-founder of Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling, promotion that's been around for over 20 years. Sought to be able to maybe compete, being a new promotion to compete with WWE when they had all those big names in the promotion. But rest in peace to him. But ultimately, we had a great championship fight night. 2 great eliminator matches. We had a title change. You'll have to watch episode 71 to find out which one. And also, we had another great trios tag team title match. So definitely watch episode 71 to find out more about it as Marty and I talk about it. And then, we'll have to. And also, congratulations to Mark Briscoe. He is now all elite. Everybody that knows about the Briscoes, sad passing of Jay Briscoe, but Mark Briscoe is still holding on his legacy, and maybe hopefully he can win a world championship in his honor. That'd be cool. So what's going on for Out of Turn 4?
So Tuesday we will recap the Daytona 500. Today is Daytona 500 day, as well as XFL season opener. But I do want to say,
of course, with this recording, the season hasn't started yet, but it's going to be starting actually Saturday. So
Yes,
you are
Saturday.
wrong.
Yes.
The season would have already started by now.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But what I will say, as far as Out of Turn 4 goes, of course, we're recording this before the duels at Daytona on Thursday night. But can I just say congrats to Travis Pastrana and Jimmy Johnson. They have both raced their way in qualifying. They do not have to worry Thursday night. So Pastrana will race in his first ever Daytona 500. And for those who don't know, Ken Block's family is down there with Travis Pastrana right now. Ken Block's family, the late Ken Block, good friend of Travis's, and Travis, of course, bringing him for his dream race, which he says it is. So we look forward to it. He is running the truck series as well. I'm actually watching that practice. That's why I've been looking at my phone a lot. But yeah, congrats to Travis. We'll have a full recap of the 500. We did have our Daytona 500 and NASCAR season opening special on Friday, so go back and watch that, and then tune in on Tuesday for the Daytona 500 recap.
Of course, anybody else that knows about Travis Pastrana, yes, I know he is driven in NASCAR, but he also is a former. He was on Nitro Circus.
He does Nitro Circus a lot still.
And he was also a former monster truck driver for Monster Jam. He had his own truck too. So he's been everywhere. I think he's seen it all, done it all, honestly. I don't think there's anything he hasn't done that's been crazy in his lifetime, to be honest with you. Who knows what's next with Travis Pastrana? Maybe Supercross. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, exactly. But with that, tune in this week to those shows. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next week here on Tinkle Sports for another edition of Sunday Morning Tinkle. Until then, goodbye, everyone.